I wish you a special good evening and welcome to another episode of Roots Connections on Q, right here on Q95, the big station. So, again, we wish you a special good evening as we join our guests from Q95 as well as Florida. I hope that you're in good health and that you're in good spirits as we get ready to wind down another week together. So, again, this is episode number 11 of Roots Connections on Q, and I am your host, Simone Mathieu, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia area. And this evening, our guests, Mr. Cyril, Indigenous Bushman Browne, and the entrepreneurs of Women of Distinction, Miss Melissa Browne and Mr. Steve Laronde, are here to join us. Unfortunately, Melissa and Steve are having a little bit of some technical difficulties, but they are rectifying that. And in the meantime, we will get started with the program and they will be joining us in just a couple of minutes. But before we get started, let me once again say a pleasant good evening to you wherever you are joining us from. Don't forget, if you missed an episode of our program, you can head on over to q95da.com anytime to view an episode you may have missed. So again, that website is q95da.com to view any episodes of this program, Roots Connections on Q, or Mr. G's program, Global View on Q, if you've missed any of our programming. A special good evening to everyone who is joining us live on Facebook at WiseQFM, as well as Push Past 10 and DA Rose on Facebook. Don't forget to share the live, click the notification button to find out whenever we go live for these programs. We have a very active Facebook audience, so we are looking forward to engaging with you via Facebook Live, as well as your phone calls at about 9 p.m. this evening. A special thank you, of course, to Mr. G and the Q95 family, as well as Lambie on the console, and also Shelly Norris, who's in the studio and keeping us connected during our programming. So again, we say good evening and welcome to our guests, Mr. Cyril Browne and Mr. Cyril Browne and Miss Melissa Browne and Steve Laronde. Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Good evening.
Doing well, Simone.
Yeah,
Good to be here.
Yes, excellent. And Melissa and Steve, I wanted to say a very special thank you for rectifying the technical situation and making it possible to be on the program. We're truly happy that you're able to join us as well. So we always like to use our time here, first and foremost, to celebrate our Dominica, our Caribbean heritage. So in about 5 minutes, just let our audience know who you are, where you're from, and any person or institution you can credit for the person that you are today. So ladies first, Melissa, would you like to share first?
Well, I must say that I am not an born Dominican, but because of my affiliations, I am an honorary Dominican. But I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, officially from Rio Claro. And the organizations I can cite, so Women of Unique Distinction, which is the NGO I am the founder. I'd like to also cite Our Story, which is also an island hopping travel TV production, highlighting social issues and presenting possible solutions. And also Abyssinian Browne and Associates is my private practice. So those are the three institutions I'd like to cite.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. Laron. Steve, nice to meet you. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. The pleasure is mine. Well, the vast majority of people know me as graphics. I was in the music retail business for over 2 decades until, how would I say, transcending more towards agriculture and building a platform for young talent, which is a thing that I've always been always engaged in from time So once I give mine in graphics, I don't have to say too much. I've been in the forefront of the music business for, like I said, over 2 decades, creating a platform for new and up and coming artists. I've been intricately involved with practically all big bands in Dominica over the time, with Cyril, WCP, Effects, just to mention a few. So, to say it in a nutshell, what I um, most been known for is in the music aspect of things.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And last but certainly not least, Indigenous Bushman, Cyril Browne. Talk to us.
Yes, my name is Cyril Browne. I go by Indigenous Bushman. I live in Florida. I'm a computer technician by trade. I'm a martial arts instructor. An herbalist, holistic health educator. I'm also a musician and an online business owner. I was born and raised in St. Joseph. Um, I left Dominica when I was about 20, 21 years of age. And, growing up in Dominica was, simple living back then. And my mom worked as a baker, excuse me, uh, and part as a midwife. She was always a cheerful giver, especially, those mouth bread, man, that she would bake for the Catholic Church. But going into the values, taught by my parents, they were pretty straightforward. It's like, you don't lie, you don't steal, you got to be honest, you don't cheat, and you do your chores. You got to be selfless and say you're sorry when you've done someone wrong, pretty much, you know. And we had to be, well mannered and well behaved, or else, what comes after that.
Mhm.
But most of all, my parents were really strict when it comes to obtaining an education. I mean, there was like no ifs and no buts. You had to go to school. I mean, no questions asked for that. And we were not allowed to stay out, after the sunset. And even if we never understood as children, but when we grew up and became adults, we really understood why we had to decide at a certain time. Because back then, parents, including grandparents, they would not communicate to you why you could not do something, say something, or, be somewhere. They just dictated everything and their way, and that was it. So you just had to do it. But eventually it was for our own good and safety and kept us out of trouble. And I learned a lot of great virtues from my mom. She recently passed earlier this year. Um, but as a young man, growing up, she taught me how to cook, to sew, wash my clothes, dry my clothes, keep the house clean, proper hygiene and stuff like that. And most of all, she always taught me about herbs as food and medicine. So those values really were key elements in my upbringing and continue with me up to this very day.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that. And I just want to say upfront, congratulations to the three of you, because the three of you have certainly found opportunities during this COVID-19 period, in this COVID-19 world, as I see it now, to create opportunities for yourself. And that is what we're hoping to do this evening, to let our audience realize that COVID-19 could be potentially with us for another 2 years. So we do not have the luxury of sitting it out, waiting for COVID-19 to disappear and go away like so many of us hoped it would have done before the end of last year. So we have to jump in and we have to create the opportunities. And I want to celebrate that that is what the three of you have done, which is why we're engaging you this evening on the program. So this evening, we're talking about embracing technology and other options to positively impact our financial situation and our personal development and even the future of our children, we are also talking about how we are positioning ourselves to reap the rewards of starting or enhancing income generating ventures. And of course, at the end of the program, we will ask you for your professional recommendations for anyone who's interested in jumping into a business venture the way that you did. As we get started, to our guest on Facebook, and we're happy to see that you're here, you're coming in. We too want to hear about how you've adapted and adjusted in this new COVID-19 world. So what positive changes have you made since COVID-19 changed the world forever? So if you want to call in and tell us, or if you want to simply post a comment on Facebook during the program, we would be happy to engage with you. So whether you're enjoying the benefit of working from home, or you no longer have to stand in long lines at the bank because now you're enjoying online banking, or maybe you're attending college online, your children are attending college online, and that has freed up a lot more time for you to do any other things. We would love to hear from you. So to engage our audience, we're going to start with how you got into your current business venture. So Steve, Melissa, how did you get into the farming industry and the work that you're doing right now?
Well, I'll try to keep it as short as possible. It's great story because Steve and I met in Tobago in 2018. Steve was in Tobago on his own venture, and I was in Tobago. And in discussing our ventures and what we wanted to do, we realized that we shared common goals. And I was already on my entrepreneurial, in terms of TV production. I would have started before our story. It was called Formation, the TV show. It was basically for single female parents, training single female parents, highlighting social issues. Prior to that, I would have experienced being fired because of becoming pregnant out of wedlock. And so all these issues were coming at one time, and I needed to find a solution. What was the solution? Entrepreneurship. Because I would have been studying at that time, my master's, and my thesis looked into the socio impact of the negative socio impact of single female parents on African males and African females. So in terms of STD, high STD rates, high HIV rates coming out of single female parent households. And so because I was already into media, radio shows, and TV productions, I decided to, hey, let me highlight this on a broader scale. And so I created Formation, the TV show. But after meeting Mr. Francis, Mr. Laronde, his middle name is Francis. Sorry, I just gave her everything, right? After meeting Mr. Laronde, I saw a different side of life, not just the struggle of a single female parent, but I saw the struggle of a single male parent. And so we decided to collaborate and change the whole venture from Formation, the TV show, to get women together, to getting not just single female parents, but single male parents. It's our story. So it's part reality where we show our life, and me as a single female parent, him as a single male parent, and also the blending of families. Eventually, we do plan on getting married, but because I am a single female parent and I'm happy and I want to be that ambassador, we oftentimes talk about a woman ambassador, but I want to narrow it down to single female parent ambassador, because we are looked at in society as Malcolm X said, the black woman in America was looked upon as, or we were classified as the most unprotected, and because of the things that he stated, and living in the US and experiencing these things and having something to compare it to with living in the islands, and then adding this single female parent factor, I realized that was a big factor. You understand? So we joined forces, Steve and I, we created our story, which is just that, highlighting social issues, you know? So out of that, we also shared a passion for agriculture and entrepreneurship in agriculture. And so we saw, I would have written programs for a 12-month program for agriculture and entrepreneurship in single female parents, and in bridging forces, we were able to amend and fit in where single male parents can come in. And so Mr. Laronde is in charge of 3 projects at the moment that we're trying to get up and running, not just in Dominica, but in Tobago, where we have 3 acres that someone gifted to us for the NGO. And also we have a 5 acres in my area, which is Rio Claro, Mayaro, where the program was initially launched in 2018. So it's a lot, but it started in Tobago. It started with a union, a connection that brought us together, and we had a passion not just for single female parents, but for our race, you know, the Black race. And I'll let Mr. Laronde talk, because I usually talk a lot. So let me let him talk as well.
Yes, I was going to ask him if there was anything he wanted to add to the discussion in terms of how the process got started. And I have to say that it's quite an impressive journey that you've been on, Melissa, in terms of, being a single mom, recognizing the needs of single mom, your master's degree program, being able to, create programs for folks like you who are single moms and still want to have careers and opportunities. So congratulations to you. So Steve, you want to jump in and add anything?
Before he says it, I could not, even though I am a single female parent ambassador, I could not have done it without a supportive partner.
Right.
You know, that is important in entrepreneurship.
Okay, well, I'm a person of very few words. I'll put it this way. I went on how would I put it to make it more explicit? A dark cloud business mission in Trinidad. And I would want to say Melissa was the silver lining behind business. You know, understand? And yeah, I end up Trinidad, like I said, on a business trip that wasn't going the way that I expected it to. If anything, it was even sour before I went to Trinidad. If it had gone
Nice.
according to plan, I would even have to go to Trinidad. So, having said this, I went to Trinidad, and it's ironic because she was in Tobago, and I was in Trinidad, but the line of business that my business partner was in, it takes us to Tobago at least 2-3 times a week. And we met at the apartment that we were staying at. We have an apartment staying whenever we were up in Tobago. She was staying in that same hotel complex apartment. And in meeting and having discussions, because meeting a friendly face in a foreign country to talk about, and the fact that she had a background in psychology and stuff. We had we used to have a lot of conversations, and then explained to me certain business ventures that she wanted to embark on. One of the first things that interested me was the fact that she had her own NGO, non-governmental. That interests me because, when you go to in government businesses tie up, so that got my interest. So she was telling me about that farm project that she had on it in terms of research and budget and planning and so forth. She wanted to take it to other islands because she had it up and running pretty much in Trinidad. Excuse me. So I told her, well, yeah, if you come down to Dominica, I could, we could join forces and do so. That's why she ended up reaching down here. And yeah, I must say it has been very, so far so good. We have been up on the land already. But Maria totally destroyed the existing structure.
Maria destroyed it.
Yeah, down to the ground. But one, you have to give thanks for small mercies. One of the nicest things is that the roof wasn't like blown away in bits and pieces. Basically, it collapsed. So I could go back and take out certain materials on it, build a new cabin, 14 by 16. And what I did is start cleaning and start making beds and so forth. And I qualified for, I think it's a bank agricultural program that's go farmers. I qualified as a large farmer, but it's just unfortunate for the time. There are some hiccups and glitches in the operation. We were supposed to get to this stuff since about June, the inputs. And, you know, another basic, well, not basic, no, very important farm products, like, for instance, a chainsaw, brush cutter, water pump, sprinklers, and stuff like that. And that's very important to get the project up and running. But like I said, there are some hiccups and glitches, so that hasn't been forthcoming. So, well, we can only do what we can do with based on the resources that is for us. So for now, we just more or less cleaning, and hopefully we got some trees. I must say thanks to the program, because at least we got some seed trees and a few other, I would say, basic stuff. The bulk of the stuff we haven't been able to get it yet. We've been hopeful about it and looking forward to getting it. That would really springboard the program. So that is where we're at now, basically. I mean, like I said, her portfolio is very complex. So she has other factors. That's one of the things that brought us together. Besides the agricultural aspect, which I just explained, she has that TV show up and running as well, by the name of Our Story, highlighting, like, for instance, she went through, you know, the how you call it, like a foot soldier, go for the grassroots and meet people and have interviews and entertainers and certain people that has influence in the, well, we tend to call it the ghetto, but in the, you know, the ground level, for wanting of a better word. And likewise, she came down here and we had a few interviews as well. I want to take the opportunity while I'm on that subject to big up Vela in Pottersville and Skinny Banton and his lady. Yeah, we did a few
Beautiful interviews.
yeah, man, beautiful interviews in that area, which is
Yes.
my backyard. That is where I frequent on, you know, if people that knew me from before, they would know me as this clean cut, you know, businessman in town, running business, one of the first air-conditioned local businesses in town. Just to mention a few, you know, people used to see, like, whenever they come by graphics, they're feeling like they're in the bank. You know, it's quite a transition from them times there to now. Maybe my society might even have a problem adjusting from that Steve Laronde to, most people call me Bush now, in the bush.
Yeah, and I mean that is the importance of what we're talking about, diversifying your options, because, you know, let's face it, we are estimating that every 10 years there's going to be some sort of major interruption in our lives. I read one
Exactly.
report that said we can expect major interruptions in our life every 10 years. So we have to be agile, we have to be flexible, we have to continuously look for opportunities that will help us financially, because we simply do not know what is coming down the pipeline in the years to come. So let's switch over to Indigenous Bushman for just a minute as he tells us all about how he got into herbs and things.
Yeah, well, my story, takes a different twist. I don't know, but nonetheless, still interesting. So a few weeks prior to March 11, 2020, when the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic, I was just done upgrading my recording studio, with updated software, better equipment, insulation, soundproofing, painting, etc. Got my business registered with the state I live in and do business in. And I had started advertising on social media to kick off my music production career because, I'm a musician. I am a producer as well. But then the venture had to suddenly come to a screeching halt, since that enterprise included having clients physically, come to your studio to get work done. And COVID-19 then became a reality with social distancing, mandates, new rules, regulations, like, minimal crowd gathering and stuff like that. And, fear and everything else that comes with COVID-19. And so I had to put that venture aside. Okay, I had to reshuffle, and get into my bag of skills and talent, and dig really deep since I had to shut down the studio, for those reasons. And you know, my prospects of becoming a sought after producer was not going to happen, and I had to face it, okay, because I knew what the pandemic brought to our table. Recording studio was not going to be it. Okay. And the sooner I realized that and acted accordingly, the less likely it would become an manageable and stressful situation. So at that time though, I was pretty much reserved, in use of my herbal practice, and was that way for decades because I was just a family herbalist, helping immediate family and friends, and close people and stuff like that. When they needed herbal remedies, so there was really at the time no plans to go with my herbal initiative, even though eventually expanded from family practice, to community based, and and that is until a business partner, well, a businessman and a good friend of mine, he used to come and get local juices from me and sea moss and different herbs for certain ailments and stuff, and he supported me locally. And he mentioned the idea of taking my knowledge of herbs to social media, and I actually had really no plans of doing that, but he said, "Hey, man, I think you should take it there, where it would be more widely viewed and reach more people, who may be interested in holistic health, you know, and the main reason he brought up that conversation because he was really pleased with my services, my attitude, caring nature, and effective methods that helped him, with his detox. I helped him detox his liver, and I helped him with his energy level, bring back energy to his cells. And he really said to me verbatim, he's like, I think you should start sharing this knowledge with the world for social media, particularly Facebook. And there was some doubt, I was pretty reserved, as I said, and there was some doubt in, going down that route with what I do. But he replied, man, he said, look, you have nothing to lose. He said, just give it a shot. And boom, but prior to that conversation, I was on Facebook every now and then doing live demonstrations, making juices and smoothies and making teas and stuff like that. Nothing extravagant, just some basic stuff. And I was already doing that stuff. And one of the other things I was also into was sharing information during hurricane season. During hurricane season in the Caribbean, and when Hurricane Maria devastated Dominica, and there was another hurricane too after or before it. I took to social media and I was actually guiding people and helping people with places they could go to donate, you know, whether it was clothing or food, whatever supplies, building supplies and stuff like that. So I was already on social media, but not as an herbalist, but the idea spun in my head for a little bit, you know, and it started making sense.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
can't wait for you to tell us all about the important concoctions that you have in terms of the remedies, the different herbs and plants that we can all make great use of during this COVID-19 pandemic, because we've been on other programs together and there's so many questions that so many of our Dominican audience have about different remedies that they can put together as we all work to fortify our systems and build our immunity during this COVID-19 pandemic. But Melissa and Steve, I want to come back to you. And it seems like you had a thriving business in Trinidad and you decided to move the venture to Dominica, well, for obvious reasons. I would not ask you why Dominica was the first other island you chose, because it's obvious, because that's where Steve is from. But what are some of the challenges that you faced in terms of implementing this particular program in Dominica, taking your idea from Trinidad to Dominica? And when did all this transpire?
Wow. Challenges. There are many. Being a very vocal person in Trinidad in terms of politics, I understand how politics play an integral part in implementation of any programs. I have the support, I can thankfully say, of my MP, Mr. Rushton Parry. He's been there from the inception of the NGO and the programs and everything. So the support of your not, well, parliamentarian representatives and different councillors is very important. And because of the nature of Dominica, I can tell you that it's been very hard to even get a sitting with those who are in control of implementing programs. And I must say, it was very shocking to hear a statement put out saying that NGOs are I don't want to, I want to say the correct wording, but I believe a month or two ago, I would have heard something to the nature of NGOs being a threat to the democracy in Dominica. And that put a damper on my business, which is an NGO, Women of Unique Distinction. And so that is an indication of the roadblocks or the red tape or whatever you may call it in Dominica that I have come up against. In terms of getting into the homes as an NGO, I've been interacting with different persons, and the things that I have uncovered is unheard of in the homes of in the homes of Dominica. In terms of children, I don't understand why the agencies or why persons are not jumping at NGOs and persons that are coming into to Dominica to help, when I can say that I'm seeing that there is no hope for our children. Women of Unique Distinction primarily focuses on women and children, because children are our future, and women, because of the way the world is set up, women are usually now the main persons raising our children. So to support them will be to be supporting Dominica. I have seen as a life coach, as someone in the mental health background, that the repercussions of not taking stock and allowing NGOs to come in and do what they cannot do. Later on in life, they will see it in their societies, in the mental health of our children, because when I look around Dominica now, I see that most persons are arguing with themselves all day. That is a cause for concern.
Yeah, and not to interrupt you, Melissa, but I think this is a very important point that you're raising, the fact that there's pushback against NGOs that are doing such important work in Dominica. But can you just tell us a little bit about what you saw in these homes that alarmed you so much?
The percentage of children that are being interfered with, molested, is a high percentage, and I'm sorry. I feel it for these children. I feel it for them, because when I see little girls and little boys have no chance, mental health is the most important thing in a person's life. So if they are not able to focus mentally, I must say I have a child that is enrolled in the Dominican school system. And so comparing his academic levels to those in his classroom, he stands out. Now, when you look at children and you see their grades are dropping and they are low, it is a cause for concern. Look at the homes, because education does not start in the classroom, it starts at home. If a child is not comfortable at home to be educated and they go into the schools, they will be distracted. If children are being interfered with, there are children who have come to me, young girls, begging me to take them because they are being interfered with by their fathers. I say I will not hold my tongue, because it is ridiculous when we have these things going on in homes and we are not taking stock. And I think for a country, an island, we need to have some kind of children's authority. I come from an island that has a children's authority.
And that begs the question, Melissa, what have you tried to intervene on behalf of these children? Have you tried reaching out to the authorities? Because I know that the work that you're doing is with single mothers and single fathers, but you have the opportunity of being in the homes of the single parents and single fathers and single mothers, and you're sharing your observations with us. So here you are, trying to provide a service in terms of your agricultural program that you're offering, but along the way you're making other discoveries. Am I getting this correctly? And have you tried to reach out to the authorities?
Simone, we most times we say, wow, because I bet you most of Dominica now is going, that's true, wow, it's not me. But this is what social issues, generational curses are social issues. We cannot address one thing without addressing the other. We tend to separate spirituality from our real life, and we say, hey, let's go to the church. This is a general curse, generational. Yes. It's a curse. Let's go and pray about it. But statistics have taught me, the study of research has taught me that things happen in frequencies so that we can understand behavior. And so I have learned to look at things. I've learned to look at indicators of abuse. I'm also trained in trauma. So when people walk around and I look at these children, I can tell you they're traumatized, because I'm trained in this. I was trained by the past CEO of the Children's Authority, actually. He also owns his own institute, the Center for Human Development, Mr. Hanif Benjamin. And he works closely with me even here. So I've shared a lot of these cases with him, and he's been guiding me as to, what to do, how to go about it. So these are some things that women of unique distinction, we want to not just implement programs, we want to help. help may come in a way that seems hurtful to you, but it is necessary for the growth of a nation.
So it almost sounds like you're saying, Melissa, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're here for one particular program. You've taken your program from Trinidad to Dominica, but now you're seeing a different set of needs in these homes, and you're prepared to assist in that area, but you cannot do it on your own, and you need the assistance of the authorities in Dominica.
Yes, and I must say that persons would, most persons know that I'm not just tied to this country because of Steve. I'm tied to it because of the little gift that I treasure so much. And
Hey
she's a
guys,
girl child,
can we get a little less noise over there?
born girl child that I cherish so much. And I want her to know her country because I believe that Dominica is the most beautiful place on earth. They say God is a Trini, but I believe that that Trini first resided in Dominica and
I
then
agree.
went over to Trinidad. You understand what I'm saying?
That makes sense.
So I want to grow my girl child here. I think that Dominica affords certain luxuries for growing the child, that the ideal Caribbean person that is purported in throughout the CARICOM region. I believe that that person can be grown here, but we need to set up certain things to allow the proper socialization of both males and females.
Yeah, and that is quite startling to me because unfortunately, you're not the first person who's been on a program and talked about child abuse in Dominica. And unfortunately, we've heard several stories from the Kalinago territory where people from the territory have been voicing that same concern. So I would encourage you to continue on that mission because it's such an important one, and try to continue to reach out to the authorities. And I'm hoping that anyone within the sound of our voice this evening who can help will find it in their heart to try to assist, because it sounds like we're losing an entire generation of children to molestation, child abuse, victimization. And I can only imagine that it is even worse now because of the frustrations of COVID-19. But I want to come over to you, Steve, and I just want to ask you, what was your role in the transition of moving women of unique distinction from Trinidad to Dominica? What role did you play within that, and some of the challenges you experienced as well?
Well, I didn't encounter too much challenges because
Good.
one of the reasons is that, we were really in sync in terms of things we were very passionate about. You understand? And if anything, we had a daughter together. Yeah, so besides business partners, we also, the universe still us together with a child. That daughter she's talking so passionately about, and rightfully so. Um, from having the convos before, like I said, in Tobago, the stage was already set. But like she just alluded to, come moving down here, it hasn't been as smooth sailing as maybe we expected it to. You understand? And the whole emergence of COVID-19 didn't make anything easier, I must say. But right now, with the whole COVID thing, kind of not like you said, it will be first for the foreseeable future, maybe for the next 2 years. But now it's not like in the beginning for the first year and year and a half where you had these lockdowns and all the rest of it, didn't get vaccine and so forth and so forth. So now it's a little relaxed, if wanting to say it so. Yeah, we can embark, that's no, but we can embark on the real, would I say, the infrastructural part of the whole operation. Like I said, I always tell Melissa, we have to keep focus on, but she's very passionate about the abuse. And I do really, we don't want to get too deep in that because it touch home for me. For me, touch home, and whenever we on that subject, it does, yeah, it does tweak something. So, yeah. So perfectly aware of the abuse. And I will go on to say it's unfortunate that the structures put in place to guard against that, it doesn't really bite. It does teeth. You understand? Yeah, based on my personal experience. My personal experience, just to give you a little tip of the iceberg, when I stand up for my daughter, I end up getting locked up and spend 1 week in the, in the prison up in Stock Farm.
Wow, can you tell us a little bit about that?
And the guy, the perpetrator, he only spent a few hours and then he got locked out. He got set free. You understand what I'm trying to tell you?
Was it somebody who approached your daughter?
No, well, boy, I really don't want to get sucked into that, but enough what
Okay,
we on it.
that's
No, no,
fine.
no, no, no. You're not what we on it. We can touch on it because Melissa have already expounded so much and she's so passionate about it. And maybe if I don't mention my own experience, she might figure out, well, yeah, holding back. Well, for me, it was after my separation or divorce with my ex-wife, is the, how you call it, her new boyfriend was the perpetrator. You understand? And I never really got justice. That is just yet. It's the Dominica. When it comes to that, man, it's really disgusting to say the least.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
disgusting.
and that's fine. You don't have to share too much. I was just curious, and I'm sure our audience was. But this is a topic we have to continue
And I would
to
like to say
explore.
something.
We have to continue to raise awareness. As a matter of fact, I think we should do a program,
Yeah.
some programs on this particular topic as we continue to figure out a way to help our children, whether it's with the government, without the government. We have to figure out a way to intervene so that our children do not continue to suffer and do not continue to grow up into adults who may potentially turn out to be molesters themselves.
I was
Because
about to
that is
say,
what they have experienced, that is what they are learning, and that is what they will pass on. So I will come back to you as you tell us exactly what you're doing in Dominica, but let's go over to Bushman. I think your mic might be muted, so you may want to unmute your mic as you as well tell us exactly what your business is and especially how it relates to COVID-19, any particular products you may have that may benefit us during this COVID-19 period.
Yeah, absolutely. I have here a it's an antibiotic. Um, Actually looking for the antivirus formula. Hope you could see it. Let me point here. So,
Mhm.
and talking about evolving and making ways online with business and everything. Um, I I started out with, and I still do a lot of herbs, tea blends, dried tea blends, where you would boil your water, you would get your herb, put it in a cup, pour the water in there, wait 9, 12, 13 minutes for it to steep and drink. And then, I started studying more and learning more and trying to find more efficient ways to do the same thing, right? Without having to wait 10, 15 minutes for a cup of tea because you may need it like right away. You know what I mean? So, um, I did a lot of research, I did a lot of studying, and I came up with getting these infusions done, right? Getting infusions done. Am I still live? Think I okay. We lost Simone there for a minute. So with these infusions, this is a 16-ounce bottle, and this is an antiviral mix. I've helped a lot of people, quite a few people, who have issues, with respiratory problems, breathing problems, their respiratory tract, and these tinctures are really, really good. So how this works is, and I will demonstrate here. This is a 16-ounce bottle, all right, and So it will come in a 2-ounce bottle or a 4-ounce bottle. So it's already prepared, it's already extracted. You get a dropper like this, and you go here, done. You just save yourself 15 minutes and you will get the same results, because what the tincture does, and this one was extracted using either gin or brandy. All right. And this one is my antiviral formula. All right. This one has ginger, cayenne, turmeric, cinnamon, and moringa. All right. This one. Now,
Yeah,
this
and while
one,
we have you on the mic, Indigenous Bushman, just tell us about your store where we can pick up your products.
yeah, absolutely. I am at cariswapshop.com, and
Spell?
I would, it's CARISWAP shop.com/Bushman Herbs and Thing.
And do you ship within the US, Canada, Dominica? Where do you ship to?
I do not ship to Dominica. I ship
Okay.
to the United States and Canada.
Okay, excellent. Yes, go ahead.
And so with the tincture reacts much faster than the tea would. Okay, the tincture, you put it under your tongue, it goes directly to your bloodstream. Okay, that's the good thing about the tincture, and you don't have to wait to make the tea. The tea, it would take time because it goes through your digestive system, goes through your liver and all that stuff, and then it takes a while to get to the blood. And depending on what you're trying to fix, the tincture is a much efficient way to go. Okay, you put a drop or two depending on which one it is, and it goes straight to your bloodstream. I also have here my sleep formula. I've helped a lot of people that have sleep issues, and this ties into what the young lady was saying about, everything that's happening to the kids and stuff. So with that comes stress. Okay, that's a very stressful situation. When you have to deal with someone touching up your kid inappropriately, that in itself is stressful to the kid and also to you. And what stress does, stress will prevent you from sleeping, right? And that just adds and stack up onto you not sleeping. And when you don't get enough sleep and you don't get enough rest, then you don't get, you get stressed out even more than you really want to. All right. So this one is soursop leaves and vervain mix. All right. And it's also a tincture. Again, same thing. You take a dropper or two, depending, because each one of these, you take a dropper or two, depending on what it is. For instance, the antibiotic one, which is ginger and garlic. Okay, you would not put it directly in your mouth. Okay, you would have to put it in your tea, in your juice, or in water, like half a cup of water, because you're talking about ginger and garlic that was cured for over a month. Okay, so this one you have to add it to a cup of tea or some liquid, but the one for your lungs and the one for sleep, you just take it directly, because they are less potent than the ginger and garlic, because ginger and garlic are pretty, in nature, they are hot herbs. They're pretty hot in the way, they interact with us. They're considered to be hot herbs. But soursop leaves and vervain mix is a very good combination for sleep and depression, anxiety. Okay, very, very good. And if you're having trouble sleeping, if you're having trouble concentrating, or you have trouble with anxiety, these are very good herbs for that. Okay,
Yeah, and
vervain.
thank you for sharing on the information. And I also know that many of your products comes in the tea form, as well
Yeah.
as the dried products that we can incorporate into our meals. But we're quickly approaching the 9 p.m. hour, and we're inviting the listeners of Q95 to call in if you have any questions, you have any comments that you wish to share with us. But while we wait on Lambi to give the numbers, I just want to remind you that you're listening to Roots Connections on Q, right here on Q95, the big station. And this evening, we are talking about creating economic and financial opportunities during this COVID-19 world, because as far as we know, COVID-19 is not quick to disappear. So we have to adjust and adapt, and we have to be prepared to move our lives forward even during this time. So this evening we are joined by Mr. Cyril Bushman, Indigenous Bushman Browne out of Florida, and we're also joined by the entrepreneurs of Women of Unique Distinction, Miss Melissa Browne and Mr. Steve Laronde in Dominica. So Lambi will go ahead and give us the numbers as we anticipate your phone calls.
The numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. The international number is 305-432-9624, and we are taking your calls right now. Again, the numbers are 449-3095-96 and 97, 616-4257, 305-432-9624.
Yes, and as we anticipate your call, we say a pleasant good evening to everyone who's joining us via the Facebook Live. We see that Anthony Simon is here with us. Owen Prosper, thank you for being here. Dr. Damian Dublin, always great to see you on the Facebook Lives. Tina Bell de Ramon, great to have you on. David Johnson says, greetings and good evening to everyone. Special good evening to the host and the panelists. Nice to see you, David. He also says, without being political, it is clear why those in authority will do absolutely nothing about the abuse of our children, because they themselves are guilty of these egregious acts, especially our young girls. So that is one Facebook Live audience member's opinion and his view on the topic. So let's see who else we have. Tina Bell de Ramon, good evening. I've been on from the onset, but listening, I do follow Indigenous Bushman and his garden tours. I've seen planted my vervain and moringa. Let's see who else we have. David Joseph, a program is definitely needed to shed more light on this subject. Way too many horror stories. Way too many mothers are co-conspirators in this immoral and destructive behavior. Way too many parents are willing to accept payments while ignoring the damage done to their children. Then we have Carl Kofi James, who says, blessed and good evening to everyone. So while we're waiting the calls, Bushman, maybe you can tell us about your garden tours that you do on Facebook Live.
Oh, absolutely. I love my garden. I mean, you know, I'm not in Dominica, but Dominica is always in me, you know. Dominica resides in me. Dominica nurtured me, and I will never leave Dominica out of my life. So my garden, I really do what I can over here to keep nature going. And you know, since I'm an herbalist, I have to keep those plants. I have to keep plants, to keep medicinal plants, you know, growing for tea, for medicine, and for food. Okay, so every now and then, maybe every 2 weeks or so, sometimes, you know, on average, I'd say once every 2 weeks, you know, I would do a short Facebook Live in my garden, and I would talk about, you know, one or maybe two of my plants, you know, and give information. I would share information about the plant, the benefits of the plant. Okay, and I take great joy and great pleasure in doing this because, like I've always said, my life is of service to others, and I truly know that. I believe deep down in my heart, my life is of service to others, and I do it in that way with the herbs, and I share knowledge, I share information about the herbs, because it seems like a lot of us have forgotten about the benefits of the herbs to us, to our cells, our organs, and even our skin and our hair and everything. And some of us have fallen, on the sideway, and we totally ignore that part of nature. So, I just love teaching about herbs because I deeply know, I know that the herbs are our medicine. That's our food. They're medicinal herbs, and there are herbs that we use as well. So I just take pleasure in doing it because I think people need to be aware. People need to be made aware that the herbs are still alive and kicking, and we need to go back to nature. We need to go back to the herbs because they will heal us. They will take care of us if we take care of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Melissa and Steve, I think you guys can see how much this topic is resonating with the audience. So we want to talk about your actual program. But another question that comes to mind is, have you approached the parents about what the children may be revealing to you? It just breaks my heart when you, Melissa, talk about children asking you to take them away from their homes because of their current situations. Have you approached the parents? What has been the response, the reaction?
I have approached on more than one occasion, and it is not, you see, this is a very ticklish area for Caribbean persons, I believe. The US, living in the US, is a more open society. And as you know, CPS, I have a cousin that works with that agency as well. And so I know the workings, how the system works, and how the parents or the individuals in the US, because they understand there is someone there to clamp down on them, that they are more yeah, and they take more care with their children. I'm not saying that molestation and abuse doesn't happen in homes in the US. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that because there is not much openness, and there's a perception that you are bad if this happens to you, or if you allow this to happen to your child, you're a bad mother or you're a bad father. And I've been trying to bring across that sometimes in single female parent homes, these things happen because of lack of monitoring, because of the pressures that are placed on a single female parent home, or on any home for that matter, where you have now to leave the home and go out and fend and look for that dollar. So the children are left without any sort of monitoring, the TV, the tablets. So my program is taking us away from that. And it's a rehabilitation for the woman first. That's why I stated earlier that I refuse to get married yet, and thankfully he understands that I need to set a standard for women, for single female parents, to understand that we first need to understand our importance and our role in socializing our children. So sometimes we have to let go of that money because we are selling our children for money. When we run out for that dollar and we are not sure of the uncle or the auntie that's taking care of your children. So I'm not saying most times predators are those close to you, the aunties, the uncles, you understand? It's not the person, the predator is not those that you do not know. So there's so much that you have to take into consideration. And because parents and individuals are not, I don't want to use the word educated because it makes it seem as if book education is more, but the old people say common sense make before book. We say that in Trinidad. And so educated in common sense I'm talking about, that everyone have. You understand? We need to come back to that and realize that because of these things, it happens. Now, if we can tighten those gaps and support the single female parent, support the single male parent, then we will have a lower number of reoccurrences of these types of grievous acts against children. So it is not just, okay, I'm telling the parent. Now, what are we going to offer? There is nothing in Dominica to offer where it's safe for a parent to feel comfortable to come out and support their child. Also, dealing with that, you have to take into consideration mental health. You have to take into consideration psychology of the victim, psychology of the family. So all of these things you have to take into consideration when dealing with these things. And because there is no governmental support systems, myself as an agency in Dominica cannot help. So I have to continue to leave these children and leave these parents that are calling out for help, because trust me, there are mothers calling out for help as well. There are fathers crying out for help. So I cannot say that, yes, it's mothers allowing it to happen and fathers allowing it to happen. There are parents who are also crying out for support, and there is none.
Yeah, and it speaks to where are our religious institutions as well. Where do they stand on this? And I think we can pretty much get a picture of what is going on when we listen to the story that Steve just relayed to us with his own personal experience. So I'm very happy that you're such an advocate and that you continue to raise awareness on this particular issue, even if it feels like it's not going anywhere. I believe in the power of raising awareness, of advocacy, and putting the topics out there so that hopefully it can be attended to. So thank you so much, Melissa, for your passion for Dominica's children. Now, Steve, tell us about the actual project that you all are engaged in. What does it look like? Do you have a farm somewhere? And how? Oh, I think we have a call coming in, so let's take the call and then Steve will get back to you.
Okay.
Good evening, caller. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, please.
You heard me?
Yes, we loud and clear.
You're in part of the rule, like 95% of the transport, the cars and the chauffeurs. It's part of the rule that exists in. A transport passing right in the police station, you cannot see who driving it. 95% of the transport in Dominica, what do you expect to happen? No children are in it. No driving. You know what crime they come and do? You identify the chauffeur. What do you expect? I finish for you know.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate it.
Okay, I think he was referring to the tints on the cars. Is that what he was referring to? That the tints are too dark so you can see who's in the vehicle. Okay, thank you for your contribution, caller. Thank you for that. We have another call. Go ahead.
On the Oasis line, please go ahead with your call.
Good evening, y'all. How are you doing?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Simone,
Hi.
I would like to thank you for that show you have tonight. I usually listen to your show off and on, but of all I've heard so far, I think you hit on goal tonight.
Thank you.
I just want to big up the sister you have in there for her boldness and graphics. You have a beautiful woman, my brother. You just don't know what you got. But in time, you will find out. Because I'm telling you, listening to her, she don't take no tea for no fever, my brother. Here's the deal. It makes you uneasy. But she knows there's something wrong in the society. and she must stand, because where you see wrong and you don't stand up, you are just as bad as the problem. It's almost like you taking advantage of the youth them too. You understand? Not you personally, but I'm talking in general. Anyone. When you see wrong and you don't stand up against wrong and evil, you're just as guilty as the perpetrator. So my sister, Melissa,
Thank you.
I can't tell you how much I thank you. I can't tell you how much I want to big you up, because it's a whole lot of big up. It's worldwide over. And a lot of people don't really want you to speak. And just like you said earlier on in the show, it will hamper your growth as far as your entrepreneurship. But don't worry about that, because people always talk about God will take care of that. God did this, God do that. But what you're doing, you walk the walk, you talk the talk, and God will take care of you, because He gave you one step and you took another, and you took another, and you took another. And I want to say big up to you, because you have people in Dominica right there where you help them can speak up for themselves. Not only because they're scared or they're cowards, but because they are selfish. And I want to say to you, no matter what you say or who look at you, how, you will prosper, because you have the heart of a lioness. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I would
Yes, thank you, caller. Thank you so much for that. I could not agree with you more. Melissa is certainly intrepid. She is bold and she's fearless. And I want to commend her, because she, she may have Dominican's connections, but she's technically not from Dominica. And here she is. She could have simply come in as an NGO and say, well, this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to create my business, make my profit, and turn a blind eye to everything else. But the fact that you're willing to step out front and say, this is a problem and we need to attend to that problem. We want to thank you, Melissa. We want to thank you for the work that you're doing on the ground in raising awareness about this important issue. And we will continue to raise awareness right here on Q95, the big station, until an approach is taken to help these young people. And it's just unfortunate, because while we wait for a system to assist these young people, more and more children are becoming victims of these predators. So I'm not sure what the solution is, but we will keep speaking on the topic. And if anyone who's listening to us has a solution, we will be more than happy to engage you here on Q95 as we work to secure the future of our young people. Melissa, you wanted to say anything before we move over to Steve?
No, I was going to say, I must say, and I have to always bring the balance, because to be a strong woman, and trust me, I'm a lot to manage in the home, because I'm very entrepreneurial, but I also make a stand at times where, hey, I don't want to do anything in the house. I'm not doing anything. You do it. You cook, you clean, you. So he has a lot to deal with, not just on the levels of entrepreneurship. And so I want to say that his role may not be active because it's not as forefront as I am. But I want to say it's important. You understand?
Absolutely.
And the presence of a man to validate what a woman is saying. That is what we need now. We need more voices coming together, male and female, to say, hey, something is wrong. Because us as females could stand up and say, something is wrong, we're getting abused, But until a man or men, more and men start coming out and saying, yes, you are right, you were hurt, and it is by the hands of this and that, then we will have more change. And I find now that more men are stepping up and saying that, just like the last caller. So I just
Yeah,
want
so right. So it takes both men and women speaking up
Yes.
to make a difference. So thank you for sharing that. So Steve, I'm sorry to keep you on hold for this long,
No,
but
it's not a
tell
problem.
us about the actual project. Do you have a farm? Where are you located? What exactly are you doing?
Okay, well, I purchased my estate in 99, since 1999. I have my holdings in Branch Ridge, to be exact. That's in the heartlands of the island, just a little lower down in the Pocassi region, just as you leave the roundabout. and you take the direction towards the airport. It's just, I would say, a stone throw from the roundabout in line towards the airport. You have a slight detour from the main road, and it's a little drive inside. It's well nestled, off the road. But yeah, like I said, I have that holdings, that property from since 1999. But now, from the inception, now I've been trying to get that agricultural aspect of it up and running. It was up and running for, I would say, a couple of years, but I sidetracked on a project that I was doing in town. I was building in town, and doing the both up and down held me back for a while. So I moved downtown for a while. Then I moved back up. I was involved in the coal production at one point in time. I used to make the charcoals, but not the traditional way. I had two kilns. That's where you have these two industrial type ovens that you bake the wood in. I was in, I was involved in that for a couple of years. Then I went into vegetables. I used to supply Brizimat, Astafans, Fort Young at one time with vegetable products. And actually, I was doing that while I was still in the music business. I was kind of doing both of them simultaneously yeah, in the early part of the estate. But from Maria, or if I have to say, maybe about 2 years before Maria, I was going up there less and less. Then Maria came, and then I guess that speaks for itself. The whole structural thing that I had up there was demolished. Like I say, I salvaged what I could, and I built back something, and right now I'm just in the rehabilitation state now. Unfortunate for me, I never qualified for any of the prior packages that was awarded to farmers in the early stages after Maria. But right now I can say, like I said earlier on, I am qualified for a package, and I'm waiting to get disbursement of that package when everything comes on stream. And I would want to think once that is done, I would be full steam ahead on the agricultural aspect. Now that would entail basically a lot of vegetables. You understand? Vegetables on a large scale, tomatoes, cucumbers, lettuce, etc., etc. And the farming aspect, that's where the people that are qualified for the program that Melissa was talking about, they will be there, and they would be head on and being involved in the whole operational part of the farm, meaning that getting knowledge towards making the seedlings, transplanting them, taking care of them in the sense of pesticides and keeping weeds, insects away. One of the things we want to enact is trying to use organic-based pesticides, try to stay away from the more chemical-based that does long-term harm to the soil. And we are so far experimenting with certain things like bay leaf, the bay leaf compost. You mix that with, I think, a little garlic and what you call tobacco, what we call high leaf. You make a compost out of these three things, and then you spread it around the vegetables, and that's a natural repellent for the insects that normally hinder them. So we're trying to keep it as organically based as possible. From ever since I bought that or embarked or had that idea to go into farming, I was always very keen on trying to keep it organically based. Because where I have my holdings in Pocassi is pretty much like the virgin territory of Dominica. It's bordering with the Montuapito National Park. For instance, if one would want to reside in that area, they wouldn't be able to get building permission unless they have a 1.5 acre lot. So that is to maintain the pristinity of the area. So that is the area that I have my holdings. It's one of the nicest areas in Dominica. I would want to see a lot of nice natural fresh water. The property bounds with a river, so that gives it I would say, an upper hand. or an additional point in the sense of there's water on the land, so during drought season we won't have a water problem. So yeah, that's what I've been doing for the, and doing extensive sowing as well. The previous building that I had was completely built out of wood. And I used to be in the lumber selling business as well. I used to supply various furniture shops with different kind of woods to make furniture and so forth. And so doing, I try to do everything that I can in the original old school local wood style. Like for instance, the venture that Melissa was talking about in the sense of the restaurant and bar. That location, anybody comes there, I think they can get snippets of it on Facebook. If anything, you could see the structural makeup of the place. And that is the same kind of structural aspect that we want to promote in the bush, in the Zion, on the estate. So one of the main things that we want to embark on, as long as support, donations if possible, because from what we've seen, we've been waiting for the package from the World Bank program for a while now. It hasn't been forthcoming, but we need things like chainsaw, brush cutter, until we get these key piece of farm equipment. It would have us on a kind of a reverse, on a go slow, if you want to put it that way. Because right now we should be moving full steam ahead with doing the sowing the different amount of material that we would need to re-erect the structure that was there before. It should be big enough to dissect and have different compartments that different, people that is doing the program can, if I don't know that aspect, Melissa can give more clarity on that.
Yeah, I'm coming over to her in a minute.
In the sense of how it's gonna happen, if they're gonna be staying up there full time, or if when they come weekends, if they, But I think it's like I told you, we have to have some kind of accommodations up there, because what that there is pretty much something that I just did to house pretty much me and my farm workers when I'm going to do extensive work on the farm. But if we're going to implement the Melissa's program, sponsors, support, whatever, donor agencies, whatever the case is, would have to be more forthcoming. That would give us a boost to get the program, up and running. But I must say, regardless of whatever, I'm the kind of person that, when I'm back on something, I have to see it through. So, like I said, so far, we already have the initial 14 by 16. I told her, well, the next move I'm going to do, I have a friend, and I can big him up same time, because there's a lot of, right now, in the stage that we are, is a lot of, how would I put it, voluntary help. So that I would like to big up Ras Like It. That's another young single father entrepreneur that, boy, I tell you, he's like, there's no way to explain him. He's raising single-handedly 5 or 6 kids on his own, a guy that is, and he doesn't have a washing machine. He has to sit down and wash. He's just one of the most brilliant guys that you'll ever meet. Now, he's the guy, on top of all what I'm telling you, would make special time to come up and give me a day or two on the farm. He's the one that saw the first set of materials. No, not the first set of materials, the round post that we had to use to do the 14 by 16 that I erected after Maria. Is he and a few other friends. Let me see, I must remember their name. Ras Like It, and then we have, it was when me one of them nights, so we can have Shanti, Ras Shanti as well. And there's one other guy that I can't remember, but these are the people I really want to take a special time and big up, because these are the people that in the slow start of the project that are helping it, that is helping to make it happen. You understand? So yeah, we have a Ras Like It that from we get things on a level, he will be the one that come in and would be doing most of my sewing for me to, like I said, to erect some kind of, something suitable that if you're going to have people coming up there and spend nights, especially single mothers, you want to make sure that they are well accommodated for, and so forth. So Like I said,
Yeah, and then,
there's something we're embarking on the speed, or how would I put it, the progress rate would be determined over time based on how things happen in real time. You understand?
mhm.
Yeah, that's basically it. But for now, the, 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 the most of our time now is on where we want to open the barn restaurant. That's at 10 Federation Drive, Goodwill. Once you go in the hospital area, you can't miss it. It's an eye catcher. It's a natural. Like for instance, that little area looking like country for you. Meaning that the structural design, the flowers, the canopy, the passion fruit canopy over the guava tree. When you come in there for a second, you're saying, well, yo, you saw me out in the country. That is why the slogan,
Rustic.
that is why
Yeah.
the slogan for it is Irie vibes, Irie feelings. I think I've said a mouthful. I think I've said a mouthful, so I can take a pause for now.
Yes, yes, and thank you for that. And I just want to say it is wonderful to see that agriculture is alive and well in Dominica, despite the many, 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 many challenges that we face. There's no national policy for agriculture, for, getting our products from the island to other islands. So we have challenges that we face, but agriculture is alive and well. And as a matter of fact, we have Mr. Warrington, who is the
You
CARICOM
know what I'm saying?
Farmer of the Year, and
Yeah.
we want to
Big up to Mr.
congratulate
Warrington.
him.
Yeah.
We
Because
want
you
to say
see,
congratulations to Mr. Warrington for
for
keeping
sure,
agriculture
for sure,
alive
for sure.
to the point where agriculture he won the CARICOM award for
Award,
the
yes.
year
I was
for
proud of
agriculture.
that,
So
man.
that says a lot about the potential for agriculture and why we have to keep pushing
If I may
for
correct you,
agriculture.
if I may correct you and permit me to, it's not
Yes,
not much well, the potential is always there, but the passion for agriculture. Because if you have a
yes,
farmer in an island where the landscape or the support or whatever is not as forthcoming, and for him to still win the CARICOM award, that goes to
absolutely.
show of the passion we Dominicans have for agriculture. And I think that
Yeah.
passion, I got that passion for agriculture. Well, it's maybe my first love, even before music, because I was born and raised on a farm. My grandfather, may soul rest in peace, Mr. Signati Laronde, back in the days, he was one of the foremost farmers in Dominica. Received a lot of awards and prize for Banana Farmer of the Year, Cooper Farmer of the Year, Lime. Just name it, he got awards for it. I remember that was in the 70s. You know, he started farming from the 60s. But I remember as a young boy, 4, 5, 6 years, going on the farm with him. He had his farm above Santa Roma. And whatever he produced was in stocks and piles and loads and jeep loads. Back then we had the marketing depot, we had Elrose and Son, that is where the grammar school is now. We had the packing shed. I can remember there's nothing that my grandfather produced on his estate that he did not have a direct market for. He never wondered as to how he's going to sell his stuff. There was always somewhere that he could bring just whatever he had, just bring it, whether it's yams, grapefruit, oranges, limes. He had a lot of customers from Granby, big up Granby, same time, the best cocoa making community in Dominica. I remember he had quite a few customers from Granby coming and get the cocoa by bag. We used to wait on a hanging scale, and he had that passion. He was a very good grafter when it comes for grafting the trees. So me raising up, like I said, from ever since I know myself on the farm, bringing water for him under the field and so forth. I know farming is something that's very tedious, but it's something that gives you a lot of what I would say, not consolation is the word. It gives you a lot of satisfaction. Thank you very much. Satisfaction.
Mhm.
To plant a seed and watch it grow as a seedling, then transplant it, and then harvest and eat. For the longer tree crops, like for instance, I have, like in Goodwill, I have a lot of tree crops around my personal residence that I planted quite a few years ago, like for instance, mango, kernip, cherry. It's amazing to watch it grow from that little seedling, and right now you can climb the tree and you can pick and you can give the neighbors. It's very satisfying. So that is one of the reasons why, from music, I gravitated to that. It's my next, anything I'm gonna do, I have to be passionate about it. Passion first, and whatever comes out of it after. So
Yeah.
that is one of the reasons why I decided to go into agriculture. And I know agriculture, for me, is the backbone of Dominica. We can't run from it. We can try to hide from it, but we can't
Absolutely.
run from it.
Mhm.
So I want to do my bit in that aspect and involving it with the twist that Melissa is bringing to it, like using the actual agriculture to heal broken homes or single parent family. I think I seen where it works brilliantly because from the time you approach the farm, the air, the atmosphere, the breeze, the sound in the trees, the birds, that is a natural therapy for any kind of sickness.
Yeah, and let's go over to Melissa to talk about that twist that she's bringing to agriculture in Dominica. So thank you very much, Steve, for sharing with us, Melissa. So how do women qualify, men qualify to be a part of the program? Have you recruited anyone at this point? Kind of just tell us where you are in the process right now.
Yes, I'm currently still screening. I do not want to make a misstep because we are starting with 12 women. And because this program is cost-free to the women, but it's not cost-free to the NGO. So I have to make sure that these women understand what it means to be enrolled in this program. So, like Mr. Laronde would have alluded to in terms of the restaurant now will become that face. So I want to see the single female parent in a natural habitat. It is not a regular screening process where, okay, you come and you sit down and I ask you questions. I cannot know you like that, and I want to know my women. So we are creating a safe space in Goodwill, Irie Vibes, Irie Feelings, with my cooking, Mel's Cuisine, because I love cooking as well. It is therapy for me. So women now can come to Goodwill and socialize. And in socializing, you will learn more about the programs because you can speak one-on-one with myself. The single fathers could speak one-on-one with Mr. Laron. And that is the place where we're going to be using to actually screen for women. I have found a lot of educated, now what I'm talking about now is school, university, they have degrees. A lot of single female parents in Dominica I've found, but they are just down on their luck and no one understands them. And so in creating this safe space, I can now be able to interact and see their education level. Where are they? How can my program assist them? And if this is the program for them, because it may not be. It is a different type of program because I want to train and produce women of unique distinction. Because of
Yeah, and I can imagine the women will have lots of questions about, the time commitments, childcare concerns if they choose to be a part of this program. So kind of just tell us about it. Is Mel's Kitchen currently open? Are you currently there willing to meet with potential participants? Just kind of tell us a little bit
we've
more.
been open since last Friday, and we have been
Good.
meeting with persons. We also use the restaurant and bar as a place to help our people because you go to bars when when you're stressed, so you go to drink, but we are creating this space. You come in to drink, but you are leaving changed. So resolution. So we are there to speak to you. You can come in, drink, do what you must, but speak. Open your mouth. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on so I can help you. It's a cost-free service. That is what I'm offering to Dominica. Cost-free through the bar. And of course, you have music therapy. So you have everything, a little bit of everything at that bar, and we're using it as the hub for persons that are interested in this program. Come on, I will tell you all about it. I will tell you about how it will benefit your children because we also have an activities learning center for the children for the parents of the children of the parents that are enrolled in the program. So in Trinidad and Tobago, I have partnered with a lot of NGOs, especially 2 Cents Movement. If you guys Go online and look for Two Cents Movement. I did my first degree with the founder, and they are all over. And they will be willing to come over. They have partnered with the NGO. So these are things that we would like to bring to Dominica once, things and the time and environment allows it to interact with the children, because just teaching a child book work is not enough. We need to offer them extracurricular activities to stimulate the mind. Studies have shown that a child that takes extracurricular activities, especially things like music, actually perform better, and especially in things like math that children have problems with. Boy children have problems with math. Get them into music, get them into drums, get them into something. This will help them. So this is what the program offers, but again, it is cost-free to the parents and the children, but I still have to run around and beg for money to ensure that they are well taken care of. So we need.
Yeah, and it sounds like a good place to start for anyone who's interested is Mel's Kitchen on 10 Federation Drive. Is there a phone number, hours of operation, if someone wants to reach out to you?
I would like to say there's a phone number, but like I was telling you, the technical difficulties is that my son broke my device during school.
Terrible.
I can give you the number, but you will not be able to get onto me until next week when I can replace that device.
Well, maybe give us an email address, somewhere to contact you.
My email, it's melbro, MELBRO 2143 @gmail.com.
Again?
MELBRO 2143 @gmail.com, or you can email the NGO at 4, the number 4, ever, the word EVER, global, forever wood global, WOUD, as in the Women of Unique Distinction, global @gmail.com. So forever wood global @gmail.com.
Excellent, excellent. So it sounds like you're taking a very holistic approach. So we're going from literally from farm to table, as we say up here in the US. So very exciting opportunity. But we want to go over to Bushman again, because I see the time is quickly running away from us this evening. Now, Bushman, I know that you have some unique approaches for incorporating many of your spices and herbs into our meals, because I think what happens is many times we have good intentions, but it can be a challenge to find time to prepare yet another something during the course of the day. So can you share with us maybe how we can make smoothies, how we can incorporate the herbs into the meals that we're already preparing for the day? And of course, we are focusing on boosting our immune system, especially as part of that toolkit I keep referring to with combating COVID-19. So I hate to think that it is one or the other, the vaccine or natural remedies. It's a toolkit. So we want to incorporate everything: diet and exercise, the herbs, the plants, and the vaccine. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, when we talk about the immune system, right, it is, it is really hard working, and it's a multi-layered shield for your body. Okay, so people tend to just toss the word around, build your immune system, but it's not that simple. Okay, with building your immune system, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of what you should avoid. Okay, more so than what you take in, because I'll give an example. Taking a headache medicine, whether it be herbs or pharmaceutical, for a headache, right? You're taking headache medicine for a headache, but you are not refraining from that thing that causes the headache in the first place. So taking the medicine for the headache is null and void. It's not going to do you any good. Okay, so it's a lot about what you should avoid okay? And also, what you take in. So again, taking the medicine, but you are still keeping up with the bad habits that caused the problem in the first place. Okay, the medicine is not going to do you any good. And then you're going to get mad with your herbalist because your herbalist gave you some headache medicine and it's not working because you're not following directions and you are still indulging in the bad habits. Okay, we need to talk about movement. Okay, there are 4 pillars to good health. All right, 4 pillars to good health. Movement is one of them, what we refer to as exercise. Okay, you have to move, you have to keep moving. Okay, you can't sedentary. It's bad for your for the pelvic floor, especially us guys. We have a prostate, so when we sit too long, it affects our prostate. There's a lot of pressure on the pelvic floor. The prostate is right there. Okay, so we have to keep moving. Next one is sleep. Okay, sleep is another one of the pillars of good health. Like I mentioned before, if you don't get adequate sleep, okay, quality sleep, you gotta get quality sleep. Okay, you become stressed. Okay, very, very stressful. Body produces more cortisol than it should, and less magnesium. Okay, so the more cortisol which is a hormone your body produces, is the less magnesium your body produces, and you need that magnesium. Okay, you got to have, it has to be balanced. Okay, so it's the opposite. If you have enough magnesium levels in your body, then cortisol levels are going to be low and you'll be good. So sleep, movement, stress management. Third one, stress management. Okay, it's important that we take care of ourselves mentally, physically, psychologically, and again, what Melissa was talking about for the whole program is those are very stressful situations. Okay, those are traumatic experiences. Very, and I hear a passionate plea. Okay, I can hear a call for help. I can hear that in her voice and the way she expresses what's going on. Okay, those are traumatic experiences. They're very stressful. So, third one, stress, and number 4, what people refer to as diet, but I like to say eating habits. I don't really like that word diet. Eating habits. Okay, so those are the 4 pillars of good health. And if we incorporate these 4 pillars of good health into our daily lives, okay, things will start getting better. The body will start healing itself because we will be giving our body what it needs to start healing its exercise, nutritional food, nutritious food, sleep, and stress management. Okay, those 4, if we think about them, and if we start developing like patterns, to get those implemented in our everyday living, we will live better. And again, when you're stressed out, I mean, everything is out the window when you're stressed out. You can't think right. You're imbalanced. Your hormones are going out of whack. You can't sleep, and that just adds more stress. Okay, so let me share here real quick some herbs that have high magnesium levels. Okay, and those herbs we can find in Dominica, right? We have dandelion. I know Dominica has a lot of dandelion. Dandelion has a cup of tea, dandelion root has 157 milligrams of magnesium. Okay, and we have nettle, stinger nettle, which we call what's the Patois word for that one? Zooty, right? We call it zooty home, stinger nettle. It has 860 milligrams of magnesium. Magnesium is very important for nerve and muscle function. Okay, we need those. So if you're stressed out, your nerves are you jiggy and, you shake a lot, right? Because of stress. Parsley, 360 milligrams of magnesium. Peppermint, 661 milligrams. I believe we have raspberry, 319 milligrams. And going back to the stinger nettle, okay, it's loaded with calcium. Okay, 2,900 milligrams of calcium. So those herbs, again, we need to know how to balance them, all right? So if we don't, let me just go back a little bit. When I was home back in Dominica about 7, 8 years ago, I observed how some people made their herbal teas, and I shook my head. Okay, so remember, just because they're herbs doesn't mean that it cannot hurt you. You need to know the proper dosage. Okay, you have to know the proper dosage of your herbs. You can't just a handful of herbs and throw it in a pot and just make some tea. Okay, you got to take your time, and that's one of the why people say, "Oh, this thing doesn't work." No, you have to know the proper dosage for your herbs. It's a medicine, and if you don't take your time and figure it out, or ask an herbalist, okay, or a nutritionist, okay, you will just take herbs and not get any benefits from it because you're doing it wrong. All right, just because it's going to help you out. Okay, so let's talk about the immune system. Let's go back to the immune system, right? It's technically part of your respiratory system. Okay, and some of its parts, it's going to get to your digestive system as well, your endocrine system, which is responsible for hormone production, your respiratory system, your lung, your esophagus, and so forth, your diaphragm, and even your skeletal system. Okay, even that too. So it really, what your immune system does, okay, in a nutshell, it's a record of every germ or microbe it has ever defeated, so it can recognize and destroy those microbes when they come back, or if they do come back to your body. Okay, and we have 3 types of immunity. We have innate, adaptive, and passive. All right, so it's important to keep your immune system intact, but it's not really easy. You need vitamin D, you need vitamin C, you need vitamin E, okay, and you have to get your vitamin D from the sun. That's the best source of your vitamin D. You need zinc, which you will get from sea moss. Okay, sea moss has a lot of zinc, okay, and build your immune system that way, but you have to be consistent. Okay, you have to be consistent when it comes to
and I think what we will do at the end of the program is make sure we share some contact information for you Bushman, so anyone who has any questions. And I especially like that you address the importance of the portions of these herbs that we take, because I think many times we think herbs are, the plants of the earth, and we can just consume them in any amounts without taking into consideration that they can be harmful as well, the same way you can overdose on medicine. So I think at the end of the program, I want to make sure we share some contact information for you, for anyone who's looking for you to consult with them on the products and the portions they should be taking. But as we get ready to wind down the program, I'm looking forward to hearing your final thoughts, your final recommendations, your contact information. But before we do this, let me just say that, COVID-19 has been the worst disaster we've seen in the last 100 years. And unfortunately, this will probably not be the last disaster that we've seen in our lifetime. So I'm very happy that we're having this conversation today. And I believe while COVID-19 has truly been a disaster, we have to look at the gifts that COVID-19 has presented us with. For example, the gift of limiting, our distances. Think about it. You are in Florida, Melissa, Steve, and Lambia in Dominica. I'm in Georgia, and I've had the opportunity to meet people as far as away as Vienna. So that's like a neighboring country of Germany. I've had the opportunity to interact with people as far away as Africa. So I want us to think in terms of the gifts that COVID-19 has presented to us. I want us to think in terms of the opportunities, such as how many more of us are using WhatsApp messaging. Are we just using WhatsApp to spread gossip and conspiracy theories? Let's use these resources to our benefits. So who on your WhatsApp group you could potentially collaborate with in a positive way? Maybe somebody has a similar interest with you. So here you have an opportunity to create a business opportunity for yourself, considering that all work can now be done online. What about your children, right? Now your children have the potential to maybe attend a college far and wide where they may never have had the opportunity because of COVID-19. So I want us to reframe the current situation that we're looking with, because as we said in the beginning of the program, we can no longer wait for COVID-19 to be over. We have to adapt and we have to adjust. So honestly, how many of us can say that we've reaped any benefit from the last 2 years of COVID-19, anything positive that has come out of COVID-19? And the important thing is to keep scanning your environment for ideas and for opportunities. So in the same way, Melissa got fired from her job and she could have been depressed and sad and sat in a corner and moan and look for social services to take care of she and her child at the time. She said, no, this is not me. I'm going to jump back into the ring. I'm going to dust myself off. I'm going to earn my master's, and I'm going to move my life forward. So have you taken any opportunities during this time to advance yourself, to advance your family, to create financial opportunities? Because I think so many of us are suffering in the area of generating a complete income. So have you taken on any opportunities? Allow an idea to spark in your mind. So whether you're scanning the news, whether you're scanning Facebook, allow something to spark within you, an opportunity to create something that will advance your life. So I just wanted to throw in some of my own thoughts in terms of how we can use this time to advance our lives. So with that, I want to thank our guests for being here. I know that farming is very labor intensive, so I can only imagine that you and Steve, Melissa, are not necessarily nights people because you have to be up early in the morning. So I want to make sure we end on time this evening and you can share some final thoughts with us, especially as it relates to getting in touch with you in terms of potentially partnering with your NGO, offering you some sponsorship or any particular assistance that will move this program ahead. So Melissa, you first, then Steve, as we wind down the program.
Before I say anything else, I want to say thank you to my sponsors. Now, I have two main sponsors in Trinidad, which is BP and also SNS Passad. They are very, very helpful in terms of aiding my single female parents in Trinidad. And then here in Dominica, I would like to say thank you to Whitchurch, Digicel, and Signman for their support on these projects. Whitchurch have always supported, and they have actually started the first sponsorship toward this venture in the bar. They have already given us drinks. So we want to say thank you, Whitchurch. So in closing, how do you get in contact with us? For now, there's no number, so that you can go on Facebook, Women of Unique Distinction on Facebook, Graphics Entertainment, and also the TV production. We didn't speak too much about it, but you can go online, our story, The Islands, only because we want to really focus on the community intervention programs while we are here in Dominica. I will be making a trip back to Trinidad on the 30th of this month because I left my women undone. So I have to, and I'm also raising funds. The Adopt Mayara, Rio Claro area. This is my area, guys. And I need to help my women over there as well. And so, Dominica, if you are willing to support the venture, even in Trinidad and Tobago, get in contact with me through Facebook, Women of Unique Distinction, or send me an email for the number 4 everwoodglobal@gmail.com. You can email me there as well and let me know, hey, I want to help your women over there in Trinidad, and I want to help the potential women to be enrolled here in Dominica. So,
Yes, thank you for that, Steve.
Yeah, well, in closing, I must say it was a pleasure being on the program to give my 2 cents, like we say in our local lingua. And I want to big up Mr. King's Punch as well. That's a young entrepreneur that's in the punch making business. I think he's the guy with the largest assortments of punch on the punches on the island. If anything, he sponsored a bottle of punch for us this evening, but we thought our setup at home would have been more, forthcoming, but we discovered we always encounter technical difficulties, so we had to move to the actual studio. But yeah, we want to big up Mr. King Punches as well. Yeah, he's one of the, I think he's hitting the stores anytime soon. You should get it by Whitchurch or wherever. Or you could check him at 10 Federation Drive as well, because I'm also in the renting business, landlord kind of thing. He rents an apartment from me, and I think that's why he does his production to a certain extent. So if you want any products, you can just contact me right there. And like like I said earlier on, yeah, it's a uphill task with the whole farming operation. My holdings is in Bokasi. I don't have a vehicle at present, so that alone is a big hurdle. But that doesn't avoid me from taking the bus or hitchhike if necessary to go up and do what I have to do.
yeah.
So yeah, and I'm kind of satisfied with what I've accomplished on my own. Like I said, like it came and give me a day or two. I looking forward for him to give me a day or two again. It was scheduled, it didn't happen. I said suspect it will happen in the not so distant future. That will push us a little further. And then we take it from there on a day-to-day basis and see how it plays out. The most important thing is to keep your shoulder to the wheel, and that's what we'll be doing.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for that, Steve, and thank you, the entrepreneurs of women of distinction, for being here with us on the program. And I just want to remind everyone, 10 Federation Drive, Mel's Kitchen, and I'm sure she's cooking Dominican as well as wonderful Trinidadian food. I've been to Trinidad, the food is awesome.
One of our signature products is the Trini style roti.
Ooh,
Yes,
yes,
beautiful.
I'm coming for that.
That's good
Save
stuff.
me one.
Have you.
Yes, and contact again is the number 4 ever EVER Wood WOD Global
WUD.
WUD.
OUD
Okay,
as in wood, women of unique distinction. So WOUD.
WOUD. So let's take that from the top. The number 4 ever EVER WOUD global@gmail.com if you would like to reach out to her. And then we're going to go over to Indigenous Bushman for your final words as we wrap up the program.
Excellent. Yeah, it was wonderful having Melissa and the young gentleman with us. You know, I'm really glad that you guys are doing what you're doing because it's really needed in the country, especially in Dominica. So keep it up. So I just want to real quick, just a minute, to encourage young people who want to get into business. I started my business with $600. $600. That's all it took. That's what I started with. About a year and about 18 months now. That's all it took. You got to have that spirit. You got to have that drive. Yeah, you need drive. You need to have discipline. And if you are really wanting to get into some type of business, just dive into it. I mean, you learn as you go. Okay, so I want to leave that with you guys, man. It doesn't take a loan from a bank to start a business. You can start small. Some people rather take a large sum and pay it off. I don't see that happening to me. I started with $600, man, and I'm moving forward, no stopping. I just want to encourage you guys, and but at the same time, you need skills. You need skill sets, okay? You need to have skill sets to operate a business, and that comes with a price, which is time and sometimes money. So you got to study and know really well the business that you're trying to get involved in. All right. And as always, Simone, I appreciate you having me on your program.
Yes, you're welcome. And contact information quickly.
My contact information is Indigenous Bushman at icloud.com. And you can find me on Facebook at Indigenous Bushman. Just type in Indigenous Bushman on Facebook, you'll find me.
Yes, so thank you for that. And again, thank you to our guests for being with us this evening. And we also want to thank our Facebook audience. Jennifer Fidel Johnson, I see you. Thank you for being here. Anthony Simon, big up Mr. Dallas Warrington of Calabishi for a great achievement, Farmer of the Year. So I want to thank everyone who joined us. David Johnson, excellent program. Once again, giving thanks to all involved for coming forward to share with us their unique experiences. So again, thank you everyone for being here. And so we will continue to engage our experts. Of course, we want to thank the Q95 family, Mr. G, Lambie, Sherwin. Thank you for all that you do for our Dominica audience. And we will continue to engage our experts in Dominica and abroad right here on Roots Connections on Q. Again, I am Simone Mathieu, and we're looking forward to joining you for the next program as we present more concrete and practical opportunities, economic opportunities, opportunities for youth development, opportunities for advancing our careers, and just building that social capital that we talk about, where we can have folks at home and abroad network for the benefit of our beautiful island, Dominica. So I hope that you found some value in this program. And I want to say good evening to everyone. Thank you for being here. And we will see you again soon. Keep it locked to Q95, the big station, for all our wonderful programming. And of course, Mad in the Morning, first thing in the morning. So be sure to keep it locked to Q95, the big station. Have a good evening, everyone.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. Good night.
Good night.